What up, perps? K-Copia is back in effect. Purple State Party. You know what we're doing here? Repping America, the center, and common sense. It's very hard right now for me. I'm at a crossroads. I'm coming up on my 6th year of doing this. And other than a few sporadic comments that I read in comment sections on articles, I don't see people really moving to the center. I mean, I can either say that Republicans are flawless, or I could say that Republicans are Nazis. And homie, don't play that. I've always said I'm like a baseball announcer. I'm just calling what I see in front of me. But, it's just getting really, really, really hard to have faith in what I'm doing, I want to make America a better place. And the only way we could do that is if we confront truths. No matter what side they come from, no matter who says it. If it's wrong, it's wrong. If it's right, it's right. We need to start expecting more out of our leaders. Not this BS about I'll fight Trump or, I'm going to end woke. That's not helpful. We need to get to a point where we're doing the right things for the right reasons and helping the right people. Or we're frankly kind of doomed. I don't say that as hyperbole. I don't believe that's hyperbole. I think we're really starting to stray into some really spicy territory. Let's get it going. So yesterday we got the horrible news that at the age of 71, Catherine O'Hara passed away. Most people know her as the mom on Home Alone. For me, she was Moira Rose on Schitt's Creek. She played many different roles in the Christopher Guest films, Waiting for Guffman, Best in Show, A Mighty Wind. If you haven't seen those movies, you should see them. They're freaking hilarious. They're droll. They're dark. They're pratfall. Those are some good comedies. And, she's really going to be missed. And I know that perhaps just like a lot of people that I like and follow, they don't have the same politics that I do. It's how they go about it. Last night I was at a little concert at a record shop with a fabulous singer, guitarist, Linda Sau, C-Night. And I know where her politics stand, but that doesn't matter to me because it's how she goes about it. I take exception to, another guy I idolize, Bruce Springsteen. He just releases a ridiculous song about ICE, anti-ICE, but it's just, we need to tone down the rhetoric, and one of the places I think we really, really, really have to start with is the left, because it's just ridiculous now. How do people not see through this? Literally, on one hand, white men are the greatest enemy of the world, they say. Oh, like that lady in New York. Oh, white homeowners. They're so bad. But on the other hand, the white men are the saviors. People like Tim Walz and Gavin Newsom. These people do not care. The Democrats just have no morals left. They change their position depending on party affiliation. That's what it is. They profess love, but they will hate the shit out of you if you leave. It's like Scientology. It really is. It's seriously like Scientology Amish levels, where you're shunned if you don't vote and agree with everything 100%. And that's my biggest problem with them. 100%. 100%. If you don't agree with every little nuance of that party, you're ostracized. I don't really know what that's like. To have conservative values and also have some liberal values like I do. I don't really know what that's like because I don't run into a lot of conservatives where I live. I just don't, okay? I'm awfully close to Los Angeles, Hollywood, a lot of liberal areas. But the truth of the matter is I stand by my principles, okay? Maybe you don't agree with all of them. Maybe I voted for Trump, but I'm also a huge supporter of LGBT rights. I smoke weed. Okay. Well, it's better than alcohol. It's gotten to the point where even Jerry Seinfeld, beloved Jerry Seinfeld, was ostracized for not supporting the Hamas people. I made air quotes on that, the Hamas people, who were saying they were for Gaza, but we know what they were really talking about. For God's sakes, he's Jewish, and he's supposed to support Hamas or Hollywood wants him gone. It's just ridiculous, you know? I saw another one where the star of General Hospital, I didn't even know that was still on. I used to watch soaps, believe it or not. As the World Turns was my favorite. But anyhow, this actress from General Hospital claimed she can no longer look at American Idol icon Carrie Underwood after she performed at President Donald Trump's inauguration. She took to Threads on Thursday when Underwood joined fellow judges on American Idol to promote the upcoming season of the reality show on Jimmy Kimmel's Live. She wrote, "See you next week, Jimmy Kimmel. I refuse to even look at Carrie Underwood." But it's not the other way. See, that's the problem I have, is that, for example, like the Christian baker who didn't want to make a wedding cake for a gay wedding. He's not allowed to do that, but you could blackball people in Hollywood. You can ostracize people in Hollywood if they don't vote the same way you do. That's the part that I really don't like about the Democrats. The Democrats pretend to be progressive, but they pick who could be discriminated against. They really do. I mean, it's just the way it is. And they won't even stand by their own convictions. On Bill Maher's show this week, he mentioned that Don Lemon got arrested for going into that church, okay? Some people say he's a journalist, some people say he's an activist. I don't know. There's a line, and sometimes you cross it, even if you are a journalist to begin with. You cross into activism. But anyhow, he said, he was arrested, and one person in the audience, right, cheered, said, yes. And Bill Maher says, yes, like, good? I don't know. And the audience started groaning, and he's like, it's not good to arrest him. You know. And his guest was Marjorie Taylor Greene, somebody who, I don't know, she's wackadoodle, but here she's right. Here she's right, so I'm going to say what she said. She said, well, I'm going to say that he violated the FACE Act. He went into a church, disrupted their worship, and then in an interview compared them to white supremacists. That's not journalism, that's activism. I had an experience with Don Lemon. Bill Maher says, what, does that warrant him getting arrested? And if these pages would turn for me, I can move on. But technical difficulties right now. So he says, does that really deserve to be arrested? And Marjorie Taylor responds, disrupting a worship service, stopping people's right to worship God, that's a violation of the FACES Act. And under the Biden administration, pro-lifers were sent to prison up to 11 years for praying in front of abortion clinics. And they were convicted under the FACE Act. So when one side does it, it's okay. When the other side does it, it's not okay. That's literally not a way to run a company or a country, okay? You can't allow that kind of crap to go on. That is, at its essence, corruption. It corrupts our system. The Democrats just really survive right now on lies and ever-shifting loyalties. You know? I mean, look at some of the things they're standing for right now. They have sanctuary states. Not sanctuary states where they protect victims of crime or witnesses to crime, but also the criminals. And that brings up the issue, when are we going to declare sanctuary states illegal? California literally has a law that says the police cannot help ICE. Minnesota does the same thing. Who voted for this shit? I understand we vote for the politicians, but are we just really going to give them free range and just pass laws that endanger the citizens? And we're just going to be like, well, I voted for him. Really? We can't do that. You know, the left was okay attacking Jewish people and Christian people, but not Muslims. And when a bunch of fraud was found in Minnesota, and it seemed to be predominantly done through Somalians, we were told, we can't do anything about that because that would be discrimination. That would be racism. Really? I mean, Israel gets attacked and responds to those attacks with overwhelming force, which they have, and they protest it. They mobilize against them. George Floyd contributed to his own death, which really was accidental. Okay? It was accidental. There were that was a very fluid situation, but no, they're going to burn a city down. That guy Brown in Ferguson was beating on a cop. Eyewitnesses confirmed that the cop did the right thing. But that wasn't the narrative. Burn a fucking city down. Just stop oil. Blocks pregnant people from getting to hospitals. They deface national treasures. For what? To just stop oil? Charlie Kirk gets blown away live on social media and they fucking cheer. It's ridiculous. They don't organize to help or to even prove a point. They just want to sow chaos and destruction. That's what they do. But they just blindly follow. All of their little supporters just blindly follow. Oh, they told me I should be outraged. They told me ICE was like the Gestapo. They told me Trump was Hitler. Think for your fucking selves, people. Because you're being led down this route that is only keeping rich people in power. That's all you're doing. You're not keeping good people in power. These are narcissists. These are people who only care about themselves. And that goes for both fucking sides, okay? There are very few people in politics that really care about their constituents. And the reason why I say there's so few, because we don't hear about those people. We hear about the people who just want to pick fights with the other side. That's the dumb shit. Right now, though, I think it's funny because it's got to suck to be Greta Thunberg. Because right now, the big leftist cause is immigration, fighting ICE and all of that. But her own country, Sweden, is paying people to leave. Sweden is now considering revoking status if an immigrant vacations in the country they, air quote, fled. Which makes sense. If you're seeking asylum from a country, but yet you go back there on vacation, I don't see how you make that case. Right? I mean, that's kind of crazy. They're paying people a lot of money to leave. The big reason is immigration without integration is just destructive. If people are just going to come over, keep the same shitty ways of thinking that led to the disaster in their country, collect public service, public funds and things like that, and not really contribute to society. And as we're seeing in places like Britain, try to reshape English society and make normal the things that are normal in their country, the country they fled, it doesn't work. Now, of course, the Republicans have taken a few kind of dumb positions. They have. I mean, January 6th was an overreaction. But if you think about it, they were protesting skepticism about the election results. It's kind of a valid concern. I myself were concerned long before the election about the idea of these paper ballots. The fact that maybe they weren't so secure. It was a concern. I can see why they got, I know a lot of people protested against the COVID. But again, that was government overreach. Okay? If you think the government was protecting you, look at what we found out since, okay? Because it was not a good idea. We screamed. The Republicans screamed and yelled when Ashley Babbitt got shot on January 6th. They kind of tried to contextualize the police that were attacked. But now the Democrats are doing the same thing. The Democrats once said Ashley Babbitt deserved to get shot and we must protect the police. But now, to rile up their little troops, they're like, fuck the police, fuck ICE, and the people who died there didn't deserve it. Which is it? If you are going to, in any way, attack police officers, in any way, okay, you might end up dead, all right? The police are there because it's their job. We have to believe that. Both sides of the fence need to come correct, okay? You show me more examples of where the Republicans are doing more than the Democrats. But right now, it is heavily the Democrats come down on the wrong side of issues, and they rile up their troops, and things get messy, to say the least. I'm not going to comment on the last guy that got shot. I think he was an agitator. I don't think he deserved to necessarily die for it. The facts have yet to really completely come out. So I'll wait to pass judgment on it. But if you need to hear from me, I think it was somewhat of a bad shoot. I think it was also an unfortunate circumstance of things happening. So that's my comment on it because I don't want to just gloss over it. There was a picture out there of Barack Obama giving Tom Homan, the borders are, a medal. And it, it was talking about how, when Obama was president, Tom Homan was awarded medals, but now Tom Homan is regarded as a Nazi. And I wanted to know what was going on, so I looked into it. And the truth of the matter is that Tom Homan was a high up in Immigration and Customs Enforcement. He was awarded a pin and a certificate by Obama. The picture is false, but the text is true. And it just shows you how when Obama is rounding up people, the Democrats are like, cool, that's what needs to be done. But then when Trump does it, we got to burn the city down and fuck the police. You just can't do that. Another one is now we have liberal media organizations out there talking about, oh, is Donald Trump mentally fit to run the country? Where were you with Biden? With Biden was as fit as a fiddle, and he dared people to keep up with him. But we know that's all fake. We know that behind the scenes, his staffers were passing orders and things like that and using the auto pen. We know where Biden's decline was, but did the media cover that? No, not really. And if Fox News brought it up, everybody said, oh, faux news, right? That's what we saw. We can't keep doing this. We cannot. If we cannot move to the center and start demanding of these media organizations just the truth, just the facts. Remember old Dragnet? Just the facts, ma'am. That's what we need to get back to. Speaking of lies, looks like Ilhan Omar pulled a Jussie Smollett with that whole, she got sprayed in the water with the mystery solution. I think she's covering up. Her husband is in league with a long-time swindler. These two were swindling, believe it or not, Omar's husband and his partner, William Haler, were swindling investors in the cannabis and wine ventures. But anyhow, that guy sprays her in the face. Omar puts up her fists and charges out the guy. Okay? If that was an acid attack, she needs to go to the hospital, right? You're not going to go charging after somebody who sprays you in the face like that. Maybe. Okay, let's just say maybe her reaction was legit. She continued on. What if that was some sort of like biochemical weapon? What if it was like ricin or something like that? Then everybody needs to be cleared out, medically cleared. The whole place needs to be quarantined. But it seems to me, watching the video and everything that happened before, during, and after that attack, it was fake. Enough of that. We'll move on. In 2020, this is insulting to me. I heard about this next story, and I had to research it, and I'll be honest with you. I did not think that I was going to find this to be true, okay? I really thought that this story is false. Crazy scheme saw San Francisco taxpayers shell out $5 million a year to hand out booze to homeless alcoholics. Yeah, it was started in 2020 to provide alcohol to chronic alcoholics because during the pandemic, they couldn't get alcohol and could go into dangerous withdrawals because stores and bars were closed. What I don't think that's what happened. I think during the pandemic, getting booze was quite easy. Most places like grocery stores and 7-Elevens were open. Bars, maybe not, but I don't think homeless alcoholics are drinking at bars with those costs. I am a former alcoholic, and I barely ever went to bars. I've been to, well, I have more fingers than bars I've gone into. But they really did that. They brought they like to say they brought metered doses of beer and liquor to clients. No, you gave booze to drunks. It went on for about 6 years, but it has ended under the new mayor, Lori. He pulled the plug on it. But the health department that was behind it had a 2024 video presentation about one of the success stories, okay? This person went from 36 ER visits annually to fewer than 10, so let's go 9. That's not a success, all right? He's a homeless alcoholic visited the ER 36 times in a year. That's pushing one a week right there, okay? But they went down to 10, and you call that a success? As the article says, the shift away from a multi-decade permissive approach to addiction put San Francisco outside the norm for a major West Coast city, as the city governments of LA, Portland, and Seattle continued to insist that a housing shortage and not addiction is the blame for the homeless crisis. Well, recovery advocates cheered the news of the managed alcohol programs impending closure. As this guy, Tom Wolf, a former homeless heroin addict who now works as a recovery advocate, said, they were wasting our money just paying people to keep using the drug they're hopelessly addicted to. Harm reduction itself is part of the overall social justice framework. If you subscribe to social justice ideology, you must subscribe to harm reduction. Over the past 2 decades, the city has really doubled down on housing first and harm reduction. This is another guy, Steve Adami, a once incarcerated recovering addict who is now the executive director of The Way Out, a Salvation Army recovery-focused homeless initiative in San Francisco. See, both of these people were given an opportunity to sober up and to become really active members of society. He went on to say, under Mayor Lori, they have reassessed the outcomes of these models and have pivoted and have a clear strategy that we are a recovery-first city. He's made a significant investment in abstinence-based and recovery-focused services. So in May, Mayor Lori signed a largely symbolic Recovery First Act, which provided a North Star to reorient all city programs towards recovery and abstinence over pure harm reduction. So he wants to put money into getting people clean and sober. That's the only answer. I'll tell you, there is only 2 answers, okay? There is recovery or there's jail. But at the end of this article, that talks about, how these harm reduction, housing first things have kind of ruined San Francisco. I mean, they have the poop map, homelessness, addiction, and retail flight in the downtown area. But at the end of the article, they mentioned something very interesting. But unlike Minneapolis' Mayor Jacob Fry or Chicago's Brandon Johnson, Lori has worked with President Trump on managing immigration enforcement in his city. Why? Why? Because a lot of the drug dealers are just illegal. Pure and simple. We need to get them out of the city. Again, I want to reiterate, I am all for sanctuary cities. I think that every city should be a sanctuary city. If you are a witness or a victim of a crime, I don't think your immigration status should matter at all, okay? If you are keeping your nose clean and you are not using stolen identification and you're here illegally, I don't really have a problem with you. But if you are using stolen ID or you're just straight up being a criminal, you need to go. So, not to be outdone by Minneapolis, California, Los Angeles in particular, is now looking at about $3.5 billion in fraud. Dr. Oz, oh my goodness. Dr. Oz, he works for this, I forgot what it's called. I'm looking. The department, it's some, I don't see it in the article. Anyhow, he's part of this medical board. And he was spotlighting how there was a 4-block radius in Van Nuys, that there was 42 hospices there. Bonta responded and said, yeah, we kind of know that there's a lot of fraud going on with hospice services, and we're looking into it. We've looked into it. We've closed some. We have a moratorium since 2022 that we're not opening up new hospices until we get our shit straight. In essence, Dr. Oz is right. Gavin Newsom, of course, said that he was racially profiling and is now trying to sue him because a lot of the people mentioned were Armenian. Huh. Okay. All right. Which may or may not be true. I mean, Dr. Oz, for what I know, is Turkish, or has Turkish roots, and they don't exactly like Armenians. So maybe he is a little bit there. But it is really actually happening. See, on television, you see these ads where they talk about if you're on Medicare, you can get like a free walker, or you can get a gift card for groceries or basic medical supplies, things like that, right? So what these guys do is they go out and they contact people in malls and on the streets and places like that, and they tell them the same thing. And people go, well, that sounds true because I've seen it on TV, and I know those are legit ads and legit offerings that the federal government and the state government offer. So here's my Medicare number. Now what they do is then they sell the Medicare number. They sign people up for this hospice care. Now, on average around the United States, people who go into hospice, they're in there for, somewhere in the neighborhood of, 18 days before they pass away. That's what hospice care is. It's to take care of you in your final days. But for some reason in California, the average is 3 to 4 months. Because what they're doing is they're taking patients and bouncing them around. Oh, this person's been in hospice A for a little while now. Let's move them over to B. They wait a while, collect the money. The money, by the way, is $260 per day. So if you get enough people, that is a very lucrative scam. These people are not in hospice. They're simply using the numbers that they acquired at the malls and on the streets. They sell these to other people who do them. And right now, one of the people that was involved with it, a guy from Burbank, Alexandrian, is pleading guilty to money laundering. And that's exactly what he was doing. He opened up a whole bunch of diagnostic imaging companies, and he would bill Medicaid for the tune of $54 million for providing, imaging services to these hospices. And these hospices, of course, were being run by people who were just scamming the government. You don't need 42 in a 4-block radius. You just don't. There's not that many people entering the final days to warrant that kind of stuff. And that's the problem that I have with the way our government here in California is being run. When you are focused on things like social justice or reparations or other whatever meaningless buzzwords that you're purporting to be tackling, in Gavin's case, it's I'm running for president. I'm anti-Trump. But what you're not is, let me put it to you a different way. Animal control will sit on your block and look for people walking dogs or listen for the sound of dogs barking, and they will come up to your door and they will post your bill for your dog license. They sit there and listen for dogs and look for dogs to get a few measly bucks, like I think 30, 40 bucks out of me. All right? I saw them. They sat right across my house. They come up to the door. They want proof that my other dog died. They want all of this fucking paperwork. Oh, well, you can't renew this because you don't have a rabies shot. Meanwhile, there's people over there making millions, billions at this point, $3.5 billion in LA fraud just on hospice care by registering fake patients, real numbers, fake patients, and moving them from business to business to business to business to business. And California can't catch that? They can't realize, holy shit, this person has been in hospice care for 5 years? It's right there in black and white. It's all documented. All you have to do is look. But they don't look because that's not their priority. Their priority is telling you Trump is a Nazi. So don't worry about what I'm doing because I'm standing up to Trump. I've always said this. The politicians want us in our two little boxes at the far ends of the spectrum so they can fuck around in the middle. That's what I'm seeing. Imagine a world where we held our politicians accountable no matter what party they were. We were just like, F you, man. You ain't doing your job. Oh, but I'm a Democrat and you're a Democrat. Meaningless. Fucking meaningless. I don't care. I makes no mind to me. If some Republican in California came out and was starting to make like anti-gay slurs, I'd cut him. Starts talking about how we need to remove black people. Cut him. But I'm not going to sit there and excuse their behavior just because they're on my side, because I don't have a side. See, that's the beauty of the center. That's the beauty of purple. We don't have a side. We have to look for the people. One of the reasons I brought up that San Francisco project was because I had to go through recovery. I had to struggle. It took me over a decade to get my feet underneath me again. And even then, I was wobbly as a fucking newborn giraffe. But I plowed through. But the other reason I bring it up is because Lori is not a Republican. He's a Democrat. He's a Democrat who works with Trump and the immigration enforcement. He's a Democrat who's changing the paradigm of, oh, we just need to give them clean drugs. No, that doesn't work. He said, no, it doesn't work. I'm not going to continue to do the same thing the last guy did or the last woman did because it didn't work. And then his constituents are like, but that's not the Democrat. I don't care if it's the Democrat way. We have to do things the right way. That's the biggest message I'm trying to get out there. Is we have to do things the right way, even if it goes against what we believe or what our political leaders say. Fuck that. Believe me, Trump only has so much rope, and then I'm done with him. I'm already sick of the way that he is antagonistic. I don't like the way that he talks to people. I don't like the fact that he's focused in on a little bit of this revenge bullshit. I want him to focus in on what's important. And before I leave, I want to remind everybody, there is a struggle going on in Iran right now for basic human rights. All right? There was recently a motorcyclist, 19-year-old female motorcyclist in Iran who rode without a hijab. And she was, well, returned to her family dead. But we're not talking about that because it doesn't fit the narrative. And then when Trump talks about doing something, 90% of the media wants to come down on him. If we could take out Iran, we could fix the world, we could end a lot of this terrorism, and we could make a bold statement that as Americans, we are more concerned about doing the right thing than what fucking party does it. Thank you for your time. I'm Kid Copious. I'm Purple State Party, and so are you. Love one another. Keep on grinding. And you know, whenever possible, man, shake off that bad juju by dancing it out.